Hey guys, it's part 3 of Dana Daily number 348, where we're going to wrap up now Thorzain versus Regu. Whoa, you got an echo there, didn't you? I didn't have my headphones properly plugged in because I was rocking out to the song while I was getting water. Now Thorzain, of course, is going to continue macroing his little heart out. I like this double upgrade thing. Double upgrades, obviously, going to be just a good thing to get, getting 2-2, and of course our tank upgrades. But the more upgrades we get, the slower our push should logically be. Why? Because we just have fewer units. It's kind of weird to me how easy it is to get unit-producing buildings, or even more on the opposite end, how easy it is to not get them. If you build, like, an engineering bay, you could have built a barracks. And, like, with these 3 structures, I'm imagining, like, 3 more barracks churning out. And that's, like, a lot more production. That's 50% more Marines coming out, right? So there's a lot of sort of weirdness that happens in this game that doesn't quite happen in other RTS titles. Now, Thorzain does go for the planetary fortress here. I'm a little torn on that. I see a lot of players get the orbital command, and you maybe could get the orbital command here in this circumstance. Part of me is thinking to myself, man, do I get the planetary fortress to be consistent with this push? I mean, if I was doing like a drop over here and little guys down here and little guys down here peeling his army to pieces, then obviously the orbital command is a better choice. But I don't know here. I still kind of feel like it should be an orbital. I still kind of do feel like your first 3 bases you can always get away doing an orbital. You'll see 6 Jacks Major also take this as an orbital, like 100% of the time, at his 3rd. But he is so aggressive. We're seeing Thorzain be a little slow. He's very slowly creeping his way forward. Even though the food counts are starting to get a little closer, that doesn't mean that Thorzain's lead is diminishing in any regard. He's just being slow and methodical. He does need to start ramping up for some aggression because he has the, extra factory up. This is when it's really time to get out 2 Thors and a bunch of barracks. I can't stress enough how good Thors are for just being like a solid piece to this puzzle of dealing with this giant mutapack when you're trying to be aggro as hell. And at a point like this in the end game, send an SCV here for God's sake. And okay, so why do these drops now begin to make sense? Well, there's the obvious in-the-moment reason. Mutalisks are up on the north. We're sending a drop down to the south. Simple. But also, our push suddenly is in a little bit of defense mode. Originally it was, I'm making a huge force and I'm going to march it all along here, and you are going to be forced to clump everything together and defend, which you won't be able to do. But now all of a sudden, the Zerg is managing to peel the Terran player into multiple different places at once, so we are going to start pulling him into different places at once. And this is the very common technique that MMA popularized through MLG quite a bit. And now we do see our good buddy, Thorzain, starting to push back, but again, needs to begin making extra barracks. So easy for me to say, so hard to do in the moment when you're in the grand finals on the big stage in Valencia. But he's just continuing to push here. Sure, there's this drop tech here, but he's being very careful with it. Incidentally, the drop does line up with these upgrades, but I don't actually think that that was the main reason why he did a drop at this time. If he did, then that's like absolutely stupidly genius. But we see another factory going down somewhere. There it is. He needs to get some freaking Thors up. Just like 1 or 2 and goes back to making tanks. The tanks are really nice because it means that your push is basically impervious by ground. You can't really be broken by ground unless he's going absolutely bonkers with it. But I really like how Thorzain is just continuing to press along this exact identical place again and again and again and again. And this is one of these moments in gameplay where people will say, oh god, Regu just got the sickest, most gigantic advantage ever. He killed off that 1 medevac. Well, that's what you would think on paper. If we go to the Units Lost tab, I mean, definitely Thorzain is starting to rack up more than Regu, but anytime the Mutalisks are here, it opens up other opportunities. We can expand over here. People tend to think on the aggressive side of things. Well, God, if his Mutalisks are here, I can't exactly attack here because that's still pretty close. And if I'm here, well, he already has these other units here. Damn, his 3 bases, I can't attack him. Well, that's fine. Our goal was just to walk tanks here and do a little damage here. What else can we take advantage of? Yeah, just expand. Expand, expand, expand. Do crazy things with the expanding. And we can actually continue to apply a ton of pressure on this little narrow crevasse. As we speed through the last little 5 minutes of this game, we notice that Thorzain has really hardly done anything but merely exist in the center of the map. He is taking that guy on the far right. That looks great. Mutalisks are all the way up north. Yeah, they're killing off, they're one-shotting tanks and stuff. I, again, would just love A4. I don't really think that would be the worst decision in the world. Need to send an SCV over here. If we go to the everyone cam, everything's okay. And kind of a funny moment happens where there's just this flip that will occur. Where maybe for the last 5-10 minutes you've been thinking, oh god, gotta do damage here, gotta try to deny this third, gotta do as much damage here as I can. And then all of a sudden, this is a moment in gameplay where I really feel a strong flip happen where I'm like, does he have this base? Scan. Boom. He doesn't. Alright, cool. I just need to defend. I'm versus a 3-basing player, and I am now taking my 4th base. I just need to defend this. So I'm going to be a little more willing to start suddenly doing a complete reversal. Sure, the drops here, because again, intuitively, we have Mutalisks at the other side of things. But I'm going to start doing things like making a sensor tower, like right here, or right here. Trying to figure out a way to secure this. This is a little bit awkward, but this is, I think, one of the most basic premises ever, is that just attack where the Mutalisks aren't. And these little moves by Thorzain to advance forward, absolutely stunning. Like, this is just in a sudden flurry of motion. Thorzain just exploiting attack where the Mutalisks aren't, beginning to do drops. We actually missed sort of the excitement of a drop that was up here in the main. I will pull it back about to here. Alright, so we had the drop in the main.
Base is under attack.
Come on, guys. Yep, they get totally killed off. Not a big deal. All this pushing is continuing to happen right here. This is our one goal, and most importantly, attacking where the Mutalisks are not. So, alright, we can even rephrase our goal. I'm going to position myself up here and only really begin doing crazy aggressive antics when the Mutalisks are just nowhere even remotely close. And it's kind of fun in a time like this because, like, all your decision-making is basically done in terms of your buildings. I'm going to get these upgrades, I'm going to get the attack upgrades, and I'm going to macro. Great. How does the decision-making work with all the rest of your units? And what we're going to see is suddenly a little bit of passivity from Thorzain. He did a big sprint up here and all around here to do damage, and now he's just sort of biding his time. A Thor's really helpful here because if you have a Thor positioned right there as you're dropping Marines up on the high ground, you are in happy daddy shape. Mutalisks over here, time to expand down there, and it's going to be so easy and so happy and great. And I feel like maybe Thorzain could have controlled this a little better. Maybe a teensy-toonsy bit better. Ever so slightly better. Hey, it's a Thor! Yeah! Pretty easy cleanup from here. Rallying everything, as he should. And has not really engaged the Mutalisks, just sort of poked and prodded him, poked him back. But of course, where the Mutalisks were not, that is where he engaged. These barracks, I feel, were a bit late. This 4th was a bit late. The scouting into this expansion was, like, totally non-existent. But Thorzain managed to break through. And I like this game. I like this game a lot because it was one of the most... because people love to be like, LOL, Thorzain is so passive. And a lot of his games do tend to be quite long. And sometimes I feel like he can be a little bit more passive than he should be. However, it's a real problem when you start attributing personalities to players and not actually thinking about what they're doing. Because you can look at what they're doing and actually just be like... You know, actually, I remember I once watched a game and I was like, you know, I don't know who this player is, but his play's like really strong. It was some guy named like Kremnik or something, and it turned out to be Pult Prime, and I was like, oh, well, okay, cool. You know, like with Thorzain, it's so easy to be like, oh yeah, he's really passive, just doing his passive thing there. But he opened up with one of the most crazy aggressive openings that I have seen in a long time, and it had a lot of aggressive potential there. Why is the question grabber not looking? We're taking some questions. Start the question grabber. I want to take those. Yeah, but he started really aggressive, and then his add-on selection was really good, such that he could begin doing that pressure. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, he did enough pressure early on that he could have time to get all those reactors up and win with one big solid slow push. With minimal dropping, Dongregoo was in an amazing defensive position with not really many vulnerabilities at all, and still, it was push, 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 aggressive, 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 cool, cool, cool. Win, win, win. So let's take some questions. Yeah, from Trouter. Dear Day 9, can Terran win versus Zerg without doing that early massive damage? Absolutely. I mean, I will say with pretty much any build that you elect to do, you can do damage. You just can. I mean, if you build 4 Hellions, boom! Ton of damage done sitting outside the front of his base. But I want to emphasize that in this game, he did a lot of damage early and then became very, very passive. 6-Jax Major is a player I really like to... Oh yeah, he's not on 6-Jax. Just Major, or Princess, or whatever he is. You'll watch him play, and he will let the Zerg make a lot of drones. And then he will attack. And right when the attack's done, he'll attack again. Right when the attack's done, he'll attack again. It's the other end of the spectrum of logic. Sure, you have a lot of drones, but you need a lot of units to do damage. 3 Mutalisks feel the same as like 1 Mutalisk, feel the same as like 5 Mutalisks. But 20 Mutalisks feel scary. But if Major just hits you when you're at 6, and then hits you again when you're at 6, and hits you again when you're at 6, you can't get that critical mass of Mutalisks up. Even though you might have a shit ton of drones up. So you have to look at what your opponent's doing and try to exploit it appropriately. Aggression versus a big Econ Zerg is good. Passivity versus a low Econ Zerg is very good. It sounds intuitive on paper, but most importantly, make sure those add-ons line them up. Line them up. Let's see here. So, Burlars says, Dear Day 9, leaving your base with that many mutas on the field seems a bit risky. If your attack fails at all, you screwed. Wouldn't it be safer to defend until you have Thors to defend with? I kind of think the Thors should have come up a little bit sooner, but that's one of those, like, I'm viewing it as like a gradient, you know, where it's like the earliest time you can attack, and then the latest time that you can attack that seems obvious. And closer to the latest time you can attack is when you have like Thors and a bunch of turrets and everything's really well defended, and like here you're like, alright, cool, I can move out. But the better and better you get, the more you try to chip down to that earliest possible time, because if Zerg can sit back and harass you with Mutalisks and make a lot of drones, he's going to like that a lot more than if a giant frickin' tank marine army is there to crush him at any mistake he makes. So I think that he should have gotten Thors at some point, but being out on the field and losing some stuff is actually better than sitting in your base really passively losing no stuff. And I want to encourage you to be aggressive. As is the theme with next week's Fun Day Monday, which you should watch the start of this daily for. So I am just so exhausted, I'm just going to take one more question. Holy crap, I'm so tired. Let me see here. So Trail says, Dear Day 9, did Thorzain come close to allowing Zerg to come back into the game? Would drops and scouting have kept Zerg on the back foot, allowing him to take the 4th painlessly from the first attempt? I think the drops still would have been a little bit of a concern early on, not just from this, you know, army logic consistency standpoint, but also from the fact that if my opponent's on 2 bases and I'm trying to drop him late, he's going to easily defend. Like, super crazy, mad crazy easily. Oh, God, I'm sleepy. But I feel like Thorzain maybe let Zerg slip in a little bit more than he should have. But I think that more comes down to, again, getting the Thors up, having better marine control, and being more aggressive with his goal of just sieging up all his tanks in the middle and just sort of running with it. It's kind of one of those funny moments where, like, you know, it's almost like when you have, like, a milk carton that you think is empty. So you try to, like, lift it lightly, and instead it kind of has this, whoa, you, like, can't quite lift it up with your first initial bit of force. You have to kind of, like, pull it up again. That's what it feels like when you have a strategy against a way wicked good player. You've been playing against pretty good players, and you're used to just pushing a little bit, and then they flop over dead. But it's like you push a little bit, and then, like, nothing happens. I'm always a believer in, if what you're doing isn't working, do it harder. It's very easy to be like, oh, well, my big push in the middle doesn't work. I guess I'll back off and push another day. It's like, if your big push in the middle isn't working, push harder. Make it more aggressive. Get those tanks and marines out there faster. Get Thors out to the front of the field so you can attack sooner. And that's what I think Thorzain was a little bit slow on. And also, I do think that he could have taken that 4th base up. And the building armor upgrade is really good against Mutalisk for turrets. Like, really, really, really good. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Then I'm just gonna call Tristan and stream Diablo 3. So, guys, I'm gonna turn the stream off for a moment. Actually, I don't even think I need to turn the stream off. I'm just gonna call Tristan. I'm gonna do this. For next week's Fun Day Monday, submit a game to Monday at day9.tv of you getting like 4 bases before you do anything else. That's like expansion, 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 do stuff. You're allowed to get like a barracks or a pool or a gateway or some cannons up,